Tonight on The Roast, the world's first test tube burger, and a study links our emotions to the weather. But first, you might have noticed I'm wearing my excitement tie. Why? Well, because ties are a fun way to accessorise and express yourself in a professional environment. But also, because I'm excited! Where's my chocolate? Oh, sorry, I thought this was an advent calendar. Well, with election 2013 well underway and just over a month to go, we'll cross to Mark Humphries, who at just day 2 of the election campaign is already over it.
In the words of a child in a predictable road trip film, are we there yet? There's a month to go of this campaign, and yesterday saw both major parties hit the ground running, with Prime Minister Kevin Rudd holding a press conference to announce a $450 million package that would extend before and after school care. Good news for lovers of fairy bread. Rudd said he'd be making sure that the children's time is well spent.
Kids are taken out from behind the computer, run around chasing balls, putting balls through hoops, doing all that sort of thing.
Good one, Shaq, but put that raptor hand away. And in Brisbane, Coalition leader Tony Abbott made several media appearances saying,
"Today I've written to the head of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet to say that the first act of an incoming coalition government, should we win the election, will be to prepare the carbon tax repeal legislation."
To which they replied, "That's great, but this is the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, not the Department of things that might happen in the future." Finally, James Diaz, the Liberal Party candidate for the marginal Western Sydney seat of Greenway, was quizzed on coalition policies by Channel 10's John Hill. Despite being flanked by the world's least intimidating security team, Diaz carried himself in a fluent, graceful, almost presidential manner.
You must support families that are doing it, struggling with the cost of living.
By kicking up company tax?
That's it, John. Okay, that's the last.
By kicking up company tax? Well, they're kicking up company tax by 1.5%. Do you have an answer to that?
John, that.
Is there an answer to that? They're kicking up company tax by 1.5%. Surely that's a bad thing.
We support families.
What a dunce! For The Roast, I'm Mark Humphries.
Now, that Labor Party announcement yesterday of an extra $450 million for after-school care came as a bit of a surprise to a few people. But according to Treasurer Chris Bowen, these sorts of spending measures were allocated in the financial statement that was released on Friday. So for more on that, we'll cross to Nick Richardson, who does have the government's financial statement. Nick, in that document, have you found any more of these spending measures that haven't been announced yet?
Tom, initially the only thing I could find was this. There were no specific spending measures because the government's spending measures will, according to Treasurer Bowen, be announced in the coming days and weeks, which means, I think, that they must be cryptically hidden as to not reveal any spoilers. Kind of like how the Bible hid all that September 11 stuff.
The compact arrangements of these three words.
Everyone's blind to the cryptic spending measures in this financial statement, except me. You want to know who's really paying for this budget, Tom? Because there's something the government hasn't announced yet. Yes, I always suspected my Dolomites account was secretly controlled by the state. Now I know once and for all.
Always with the Dolomites. So while Kevin Rudd's financial statement might be cryptic, there was nothing cryptic about that cut the carbon tax letter that Tony Abbott sent to the office of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet, a department that, as we reported yesterday, is in caretaker mode now that the election's been called. So no more putting balls through hoops and doing that sort of thing. Nope. Now that there's a good chance that Tony Abbott could become Prime Minister, those public servants better start filling in the blanks of his plan to repeal the carbon tax legislation, where the blanks are everything below the title. Poor public servants. Well, at least Abbott will probably fire them if he gets elected. Next up tonight, great news for people who like chunks of bloody flesh but not killing things. Scientists in the Netherlands have grown and cooked the world's first test tube beef burger. The so-called in vitro burger was unveiled in London overnight and was tried out by Austrian food researcher Hanni Rützler, who described it as
close to meat.
Close to meat, the unofficial motto of all fast food. The problem here, though, is that it's not that fast because the burger cost around $370,000 and took 3 months to make, which makes it less than ideal for drive-through.
Welcome to Faux Burger. Can I take your order, please?
Yeah, could I get one of those test tube burgers, please?
One test tube burger. That'll be $370,000. And how will you be paying today?
With my car.
Okay, please leave the keys in the ignition and proceed to the next window.
Yeah, it's almost done. I'm sorry.
Your burger, sir.
Oh, great, thank you. I really don't like pickles.
Oh, sorry, sir. I'll make you another one.
Okay, thanks.
No pickle!
I don't like pickles.
Now, the thinking behind this artificial burger is that right now the world is already at peak meat. But according to the United Nations, global meat production will more than double between the year 2000 and 2050. So not only could it help solve the food crisis, but...
Backers also say this will help cut down on animal cruelty.
And that means it'll cut down on ethical vegetarians, giving us all guilt trips whenever we eat meat. Because I like meat. But will I like these test tube burgers?
The raw ingredients may sound unappetising. 1/2 millimetre thick strips of pinkish yellow lab-grown tissue.
But how do you cook it?
From a tiny biopsy which has been removed from a cow's butt cheek, they tease out the stem cells and bathe them in a solution full of nutrients.
Congratulations, scientists. You've managed to somehow make something sound less appealing than slaughtering live animals. For more on these burgers, though, we're joined again by Nick Richardson. Nick, you're now out to dinner. How do you feel about this in vitro meat?
Oh, Tom, this is just the start. I mean, if they can create artificial beef using cow muscle tissue, they can create anything.
Oh, like a chicken?
No, think bigger.
Like a really big chicken?
No, like humans, Tom. I mean, imagine being able to eat your friends and loved ones without the social faux pas of being an actual cannibal.
What? So you're not at all perturbed by this weird science?
No, Tom, if you ask me, science isn't weird enough. I mean, why settle for something we've already got, like beef, when you could create many more exciting meats? I mean, imagine being able to eat, guilt-free, a Galapagos turtle, or a dinosaur, or a kitten, or a Tom Glasson burger.
What? Oh, Nick, stop that. You creep me out.
No, it's not me, Tom. It's these violence-inducing weather conditions.
Oh, well, that brings us to our next story. Violence-inducing weather conditions. Yes, scientists have used 60 studies from around the world to establish a close relationship between incidents of violence and climate events, such as monsoons and heat waves, which might explain why I saw this weather report last night.
Looking to tomorrow's forecast, Brisbane will see a high of 40 degrees, and the Weather Bureau has upgraded their murder predictions from 2nd degree to 1st. And that total fire ban across most of Victoria has been upgraded to a total firearms ban. It'll be slightly cooler tomorrow in Hobart, so you can expect some passive aggression and name-calling. On the waters, north to northeasterly winds will increase up to about 30 knots tomorrow, and those knots will come in handy if you're planning to hang someone over the weekend. And finally, New South Wales can expect a spate of gangland shootings due to the warm front coming across the Central Tablelands. So, Juanita, if you're heading out tomorrow, be sure to take your bulletproof vest and leave the umbrella at home.
Right, well, this clearly has deep implications for the future of a society in an age of global warming. And for further commentary, we'll cross to sociological correspondent Jazz Twemlow.
These are humans, probably off to the cinema to see that rom-com with their partner and afterwards buy a shit beanbag. Dosed up to the eyeballs on Apple products, buzzing on a diet of hashtags and coffee they've just taken photos of. This is civilization. But be afraid. All it takes to turn these peaceful, walking Twitter profiles in a skin costume into this is a hot armpit. Sure, the homicide rate may be going down, but that's only because there are enough ice caps and air conditioning to keep you idiots from bathing in each other's blood like a big sweaty bunch of stab-knifing crazies. Oh, this just in. Yep, I've lost my faith in humanity. I mean, can you try not punching someone just because you happen to have an argument while being warm? If you are prone to violence just because of the warming effects of carbon, try removing yourself from society in a massive fridge, or call this number. Otherwise, we face living in a terrifying dystopia where this is an everyday event. And how does the client plead to the charge of murder?
My client pleads not guilty because it was quite hot at the time.
Well, the defendant is pleading climate. That sounds reasonable. All charges are dropped. You see, ridiculous. Back to you, Jazz. Thanks, Jazz. Depressing. Tom?
Thanks, Jazz. Depressing. Good night.